Hey guys, it's Mr. Oda. In today's lesson, we're going to be going over topic 4.2, which is soil formation and erosion. For this topic, our learning objective is going to be to describe the characteristics and formation of soil, and our skill is going to be to identify a research method, design, or measure used during an experiment. Now, soil is formed when you have parent material, which is rock, and it's weathered, transported, and deposited. And weathering just means to be broken down by wind and rain and other factors like that. Now, the factors that play a part in how soil is formed is, of course, the type of rock that's being used, so the type of parent material, the climate, which means what the temperature is like, the moisture, and how much rain and especially wind there is, the topography, which means how sloped the land is. If the land has a big hill on it, of course, the soil will erode faster. Biological factors like plants, animals, and microorganisms, as well as time, because soil is always forming. However, it does form very slowly. One thing to memorize for the AP exam is the idea of the soil horizons. When you're looking at soil from the top down, you're going to see different layers. The top layer is the organic layer, which we labeled the letter O. It has a lot of leaf litter, dead organisms, things like that. That's where you're going to see the plants growing. Below that, you're going to see layer A, which is the surface horizon. It's humus, rock, organic material all mixed together. And the same thing with the layer below it, the subsoil or layer B. There's more humus, rock, and organic material. One of the lowest levels, the C, the substratum, that's where you see partially weathered parent material. And at the bottom, usually you'll see bedrock. Sometimes you won't see this in a graph, but this will be labeled as the level R. And this is just another image to show that. Now, in terms of soil erosion, soil erodes over time due to many different things. First thing is water. Watering during agriculture or during rainstorms will lead to runoff carrying soil with it. Another big thing is wind. Wind will blow soil away, especially loose dirt. Gravity, as I said before, if there's a slope, it's going to cause the soil to fall and run off faster, as well as human factors. Human factors can affect water supplies because of eroded soil falling into it. Now, humans can also play a big part in affecting soil for many different reasons. And these are 4 different examples. When humans deforest an area, the lack of roots to hold on the soil causes the soil to erode much faster. Also, overgrazing. When cattle overeat the plants and disturb the top layer of soil, it can cause it to erode a lot faster. Additionally, with pesticides and fertilizers, humans will change the chemistry of soil, kill the bacteria inside of it that's beneficial for it, and can poison the soil. And one thing that you might not be familiar with is tillage. Tillage is where farmers will turn and break up the soil to add oxygen. Doing this makes it very loose, makes it unable to gather organic material, and it can actually damage the plants. And this is an example of tilling. Now, to see if you remember the layers, looking at the image to the side, which layer of the soil profile represents the region with the greatest concentration of organic material? And for question 2, which layer of the soil profile represents the region with the closest similarity to the parent material? Where would you find the most rock or parent material in this graph? Now, one of the most important things with soil is that it takes very long for new soil to be produced. It can take thousands of years to get even a centimeter of soil. So it's very important for us to conserve it because, as you know, we need the soil to grow our crops, which helps feed not just us, but the animals that we also eat. So here are some things that you should keep in mind to answer when it asks about protecting soil. So the first thing is contour plowing. What this is plowing across a slope. So if there's a hill, you plow across it to reduce soil erosion and runoff from water flowing down. So it kind of catches the water from running down. Similar idea is terracing. When you cut out steps in a hill, it also reduces runoff by making the slope a little less steep. Since we mentioned tilling, another option is no-till agriculture, where the farmers just decide to not break up their soil, so it leaves the soil undisturbed for planting crops. Additionally, there's also strip cropping, which is important because they rotate different types of crops so that they don't have to rely on using pesticides to kill insects, which leaves the soil healthier. And one main thing that most farmers do, and which is important for you guys to remember for the AP exam, is adding cover crops. What these are plants that you are not harvesting, but you put down to cover the soil to use the roots to protect it. Now, for some practice from the AP exam, we're going to look at an FRQ question. And for this, I'm going to pause the video so you guys can read it on your own. And now looking at this data, for question 1, based on the information in this graph, identify the percent of cover for mosses in the unburned plot. Question 2, based on the information in this graph, identify the dominant ground cover in the plot where a fire occurred 32 years before the data was collected. And for question 3, based on the information in this graph, describe the percent coverage of sedges and grasses in the unburned plot compared to that in the plot burned most recently. Now, additionally to that, we're going to be looking at an experimental design. Remember that our skill for this is to identify a research method for an experiment. So in this experiment, they give some data in a data table. Much of the Arctic soil is frozen year-round. Scientists measured soil thaw depth in areas burned in the Arctic at 5-meter intervals. Additionally, the thickness of surface organic layer was measured at each site. The data collected is in the table above. For question 1, identify what the independent variable was for this investigation. For question 2, identify one variable that was not mentioned in the description above that could affect the results of this investigation. And for question 3, describe the relationship between the average thaw depth and time since the last fire. All right. I hope you were able to learn something from this video. If you have any questions, please ask them in class, and I will see you guys in the next video lesson.